All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go from Chicagoland. Mark Nelson, Zach Lockett on the front row. Richie Joplin and Michael Whiting have the second row. Stephen Gibson, last night's truck winner, and John Ross on the third row. Levi Heilman and Mark Dantum on the fourth row. Ronald Losey and Russ Martin round out the top 10. Austin Ruskoff starting in 11th, next to Troy Downing in 12th. Nicole, that's what she said, Kriesel in 13th. Rick Surgeon in 14th. Kyle Holden starts in 15th. Cody Williams in 16th. Zach Henson starting in 17th. Gerald Thanos Poole in 18th. Caleb Bass in 19th. And Donald Double D Durant rounds out the 20-car field here tonight. Gerald did not qualify. He's testing something with the tires here tonight. That could be interesting. Waiting for the last of the field to take to the grid. And looks like everybody is on the grid. They begin rolling here at Chicago. Only one Christmas paint in the field, but I expect next week we'll probably see quite a few. Mark Nelson, Zach Lockett on the front row. Zach does not have his team up here to help him out. That team works very well, as we saw last week at Daytona. If you missed the race, don't worry, you can find it on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern, Jones BS Racing All-Star event. This is going to be interesting. They are using the Australian supercars. Pace car is in. Green flag is in the air. They are down and away at Chicagoland. Mark Nelson quickly moving to the high side, and Richie trying to move forward up top. Richie really shot the gap there early to get to second. And as we mentioned, the back top, in the past, one of the interesting and difficult things about this track is the back straightaway is not straight. It is one long curve. It does mean a little bit more wear to the right side tires. Caleb Bass is all ready to pit road. Caleb Bass in his pit stall. We'll take a look here in a minute. Mark Nelson leads the first couple of laps, but Richie Joplin and Zach Lockett on the attack already. There's Caleb Bass coming through 3 and 4. Just pulls down. I thought there might have been a problem, but no problem. He just brings it in. May just be a bad set of tires tonight. Austin Ruskoff now up to 9th place, picking up some spots here early. And speaking of picking up spots, Kyle Holden already up 3 spots into 12th. Caleb Bass is now rolling off pit road, but he is going to be about 3 laps down because Mark Nelson just crossed the start-finish line. Michael Whiting starting to make some moves as he battles. But John Ross has a run underneath and may take it. Like we mentioned in pre-race, the drivers all saying the car was tight here tonight. Really tough getting it out of the turn, and we saw a lot of cars in practice getting the turn 4 wall. Russ Martin back in 10th, Austin Ruskoff in 9th, and Mark Dantuma now making his way to 7th, moving Levi back into 8th. Rick Sargent, a little bobble out of Rick. Kyle Holden still trying to make some moves toward the front. We saw Ronald Losey and his team working well together last week at Daytona. Russ Martin Jr. and that team working well together at Daytona last week. It'll be interesting to see how they do now they're out here on a track. It's not a plate race. And Richie Joplin has finally made his way to the lead. Zach Lockett trying to take second from defending champion Mark Nelson. The top 3 do have a little gap. 4th place, Stephen Gibson. Now 1.1 seconds back, but Dan Tuma just shot by Gibson like he was standing still. And Dan Tuma sets his sights on that lead group. I have a feeling Dan Tuma can serve tires at first 5 or 6 laps and then set sail to the front. Kind of expect a similar thing out of Kyle Holden here, as he is still battling with Ronald Losey for 11th. Richie Joplin has the lead over Lockett. Mark Nelson still side by side with Lockett, trying to reclaim. Mark Dantuma is chopping away at that top 3. He is now 9/10 of a second back and closing quickly as Michael Whiting banging doors. Not often you see Whiting have to use a door on somebody. But it did look like John Ross, was trying to keep him pinned down. Yep, he is trying to keep him pinned down. Whiting doing everything he can to hold him off. Levi Heilman back there in 8th. Austin Ruskoff in 9th. Russ Martin and now up into 10th. Kyle Holden surprisingly still back in 12th. Really expected to see him come up through the field rather quickly. Just shows the level of competition has stepped up this season. Richie Joplin trying to open up a gap on second place, Mark Nelson. Zach Lockett finally settles into third, but Dan Tuma continuing to close. Competition caution tonight expected at lap 40. Drivers are looking at 47 to 50 laps on a tank of fuel, so they will need a green flag stop in the second part of the race. Top 5 have for the moment gotten away, but 6th on back is just a non-stop battle. Whiting going at it again. Ross getting a little bit of help from Levi. Based on the paint schemes, I'm going to go out on a limb and say John Ross and Levi Heilman are teammates here. And with a little help from Levi, John Ross finally clears Michael Whiting. Austin Ruskoff right behind that 3-car battle in 9th, and Kyle Holden now battling for 10th. But still battling with Russ Martin. It appears these two are going to work their way to the front side by side. But Kyle Holden finally gets ahead of Russ Martin to take 10th. Richie Joplin had opened up a half-second lead, but Mark Nelson and Zach Lockett have closed in. Once they got single file, they have managed to keep the gap between them and Dan Tuma at about 9/10 of a second. Kyle Holden still trying to find his way forward, now looking under Austin Ruskoff. Zach Henson now up 3 spots into 14th. Cody Williams currently in 15th, Troy Downing in 16th, Double D in 17th. Gerald Poole back in 18th, Nicole Creasel in 19th, and Caleb Bass several laps down in 20th. And it looks like we're about to have a 3-car battle up front for the lead. Richie now has Mark Nelson on the bumper. Zach Lockett up on the high side. Richie holding them off for a moment as they go side by side. Dan Tuma did lose some ground on that group, and Stephen Gibson is starting to close in on Mark Dan Tuma. He's bringing John Ross with him, Levi Heilman, Michael Whiting, Kyle Holden, and Austin Ruskoff all in a line right behind. Zach Lockett trying to make a move down to the bottom. You see a lot of drivers utilizing the apron here tonight, a very common tactic, but it also uses up the tires just a little bit more coming onto and off the banking. Going to the competition caution, that's likely not going to be an issue. But from the competition caution to the end, if this race stays green, it could be a huge deciding factor. Kyle Holden now looking to the high side on Michael Whiting. Surprised to see Whiting dropping back a little bit here in the early going. Holden has the run, takes the position. Austin Ruskoff staying in line, back behind. Whiting likely to lose that spot here as well. Now it looks like Austin Ruskoff drops back in line in 10th. Mark Dantuma in 4th. Now has his hands full. Steven Gibson behind him in 5th. Remember, Gibson won the truck race here last night. He pulled off a tire strategy that had him on the freshest tires in the final laps, and obviously here tonight he is extremely fast. Mark Nelson reclaims the lead up front. Richie Joplin in 2nd. Zach Lockett in 3rd. Mark Nelson versus Richie Joplin is something we saw a lot of last season in home motorsports and here in BRR. In home motorsports, we saw these two in multiple championship battles. And Richie was often up in the mix of race wins in Mark Nelson's BRR championship run. I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to see these two battle it out all season long. Kyle Holden now making the move for 7th. As he goes past Levi. Holden already up 7 spots into 8th place, trying to take 7th from Levi. Still has the inside line as they go off into 3. But can't quite complete the pass yet. There you see the curvature of the backstretch. The top 3 still have a 1.5 second gap on 4th place, Mark Dantuma. Hey, good evening, Russell Worth cheering on Richie Joplin. Richie currently in 2nd. Mark starting to pull a bit of a gap on Richie here. Zach Lockett able to get himself into the top three, but just doesn't have enough left to get past him. Mark Dantuma holds on to fourth, but Stephen Gibson is going to try it on the high side now. It is worth noting that the iRacing's new debris simulation is out there. Debris is going to be more of a problem in all our broadcasts this season for the drivers. See if we can ride along. Riding along with Michael Whiting. If you look up there by the outside wall, you can see the debris building, and it is much more of a factor. It'll be an even bigger factor in road races when they throw it across the track, throw it up to the cars behind. But here you'll see it coming off the tires, banging into windows, and causing a variety of other problems. iRacing just continues to make this as real as is possible. Mark Dantuma has suddenly started slipping backwards into 10th. DJ, you're absolutely right. Mark does manage it for quite a while, and when the time comes, he is gone. John Ross now up into 4th, Stephen Gibson in 5th, Kyle Holden into 6th, side by side with Levi at the moment. Michael Whiting starting to move back forward. He is up into 8th. DJ, he needs to teach both of us how to do it. 3 laps away from the competition caution so far. Mark Nelson has led the most laps. And so far this group from about 5th on back has been where the fight is. Cody Williams has just cracked into 10th place. Cody up 6 spots. Mark Dantuma is fading, now back in 11th after that hard charge for the lead. Kyle Holden is a former BRR champ. And Mark Nelson, the defending champion. Both drivers really having to work for it this season. As I said earlier, the level of competition really has stepped up. Whoa! Nicole Creasel losing a lap here. Mid-pack coming by. Looked like they might have given her a little tap. And the competition caution is out. That'll be the first caution and potentially the only caution we see tonight. This is one of those tracks that does have a tendency to stay green for long periods of time. There's the pace car waiting for Mark. As everybody stacks up, we will see all of them on pit road. Nicole Kriesel and Caleb Bassey, only 2 cars on the lead lap. Nicole should get the lucky dog on this caution. The Mark Nelson leads them all on pit road. Richie Joplin and the rest of the field right behind. Weirdly, Mark Dantuma stayed out. This will end up costing Dantuma a lot of track position. 4 tires and fuel throughout the field. Mark manages to come off pit road out front. In fact, the top 3 identical, but look who comes out. 4th in line, Kyle Holden. And I fully expect to see Dantuma in before this pit stop is over. Here comes Dantuma. He will give up the lead. Looks like he just stayed out to lead a lap and pick up some points. Lights are out on the pace car. Mark Nelson and Richie Joplin on the front row. Zach Lockett, Kyle Holden on the second. Stephen Gibson, Michael Whiting on the third row. John Russ, Cody Williams on the fourth. Austin Ruskoff and Zach Henson round out the top 10. Nicole Kriesel did get the wave round. She is back on the lead lap. Mark Dantuma off pit road as well. And since we know this could go green to the end, I think it's time to get a little bit loud, folks. When the green flag drops, I'm going to shut up and let you guys crank it up and listen to all that horsepower. Here we go. Pace car is in. Green flag back in the air. Crank it up, y'all. We've had a big development here. Mark Dantuma is back on pit road. A perennial contender in Mark Nelson. He is always in the fight. This is going to be a huge setback here tonight. Zach Lockett now battling John Ross for third place. Mark Nelson, Richie Joplin, single file for the moment. Kyle Holden lurking right behind, along with last night's winner, Stephen Gibson. Hey, good evening, Kenny. Michael Whiting back up into 7th, battling with Zach Henson. Henson in 7th picks up 10 spots. So, wow! Zach Henson just pointing, squeezed, and is going by. He has definitely got a huge run going here. John Ross now trying to take 2nd place from Drifty Richie Joplin. The whole field all still right there together. Looks like the vast majority of them all under about 3 seconds at the moment. Everybody just within striking distance, and there are no gaps until about 15th place, so at any moment somebody could come from way behind and shoot to the front, kind of like Zach Henson did a moment ago. Zach Henson definitely found something on that first run because he is moving now. Up 11 spots now into 6th, right behind. The battle for the lead as Kyle Holden goes to the lead. Richie Joplin now battling with Mark Nelson for 2nd. That may be a new record for the longest it's taken Kyle Holden to get to the lead, 50 laps. Remember, Kyle started back in 15th place, worked his way up into about 6th place before the caution came off pit road in 4th, now up front. John Ross battling with Richie Joplin for 2nd. Mark Nelson battling with Zach Lockett for 4th and 5th. And for the first time tonight, we've got him 3 wide, coming off 2 as Henson continues his march to the front. He has got some Christmas deliveries to get done, and now takes 4th. My God, when Amazon wants something delivered, they put Zach in the car, and he gets it done. Man, what a charge. John Ross almost got the door shut, but it wasn't enough. Henson's going by him on the high side. Richie Joplin and Kyle Holden just started looking in their mirrors, seeing the Amazon car coming, and got worried. Mark Dantuma is out of the race. appears Dan Tuma has left the track. We can't even find out what has happened. We will see him later in the SMR Gen 4 race at 9:30 Eastern. Make sure you tune in for that. I'll try and get an answer then. Kyle Holden up front, but now Zach Henson into second place. Could be a potential power or network outage for Mark Dan Tuma. Hopefully everything is okay. As here we go, Zach Henson under Holden for the lead. If you're expecting a delivery from Amazon, it is definitely on the way. Holden on fire tonight. Zach Henson now up 16 spots into the lead. Kyle Holden in second, Richie Joplin in third. Mark Nelson has drifted back to seventh. But again, as we mentioned during that first run, keep an eye on him later in the run. I'm also noticing Michael Whiting, who we saw battling throughout that first 40 lap stint, has been taking it easy here. He's another one to keep an eye on late in the run. And Kyle Holden just shot down to the apron back to the lead. There is just a lot of back and forth going on. Looking down from the blimp. Everybody right out to the wall, carrying as much momentum as possible. Kyle Holden back to the front, trying to pull away for the moment. Stephen Gibson back in 8th, Cody Williams in 9th, and Rick Sargent, who we haven't talked about tonight, has just quietly been working his way forward into 10th. I do believe Rick has the Grinch on his car. They might be racing their way to Whoville. Michael Whiting now back up into 5th, side by side with Lockett for the moment. Henson slips back to 4th, settles back in. Henson has found something nobody else has here tonight. Even Mark Nelson and Kyle Holden. Henson can practically pull out whenever he wants and take off. The top two still single file. Kyle Holden and Richie Joplin. Trying to put a little space between them and 3rd place. John Ross. Whoa! Big bobble from Michael Whiting out of 2. Keeps his foot down. Levi Heilman, who was in the top 5 early on in the race, has now drifted back to 11th, as Troy Downing and Austin Ruskoff right there with him. Russ Martin in 14th, Gerald Poole in 15th, tried something with the tires in the early going. It appears whatever he was trying didn't work. Double D back in 16th, Ronald Losey in 17th, Nicole, that's what she said, Creasel in 18th, Kayla Bass in 19th, Mark Dantuma out early in 20th. Side by side for fourth, still going on. Mark Nelson, Michael Whiting lurking right behind, not pushing the issue at the moment. A lot of the drivers were talking about the right front tire wear during practice, because you're turning pretty much all the way around the track. Riding along with Michael Whiting on his roll bar camera. And you see as they come out of turn 2, they are still pulling to the left. The wheel never straightens out. Off into 3 and 4 they go, then out of turn 4 you might straighten it for a second, but you're turning pretty much the entire length of this 1.5-mile track. The right side tires wear out quickly if you don't take care of them. One of the best at taking care of them, now back up into the top 5, Mark Nelson. But Kyle Holden also extremely good at making the tires last and be fast. He is out front and at the moment pulling away. And Kyle Holden does continue to pull away. His lead now 0.6 of a second as Richie Joplin and John Ross battle for second place. Mark Nelson and Zach Henson battling for 4th and 5th, with Zach Lockett right behind. Michael Whiting is there. Stephen Gibson is there. Now Rick Surgeon is up in 9th. Cody Williams in 10th. Levi Heilman, we mentioned, now back in 11th, but he is starting to close just a little bit on that lead group. Holden's lead now almost 0.9 of a second as they're about to go 3 wide for second. Whoa, that got a bit exciting. Out of turn 4, John Ross backs out just at the last second. Zach Henson looks like he has found a bit of a run up on the high side. Richie trying to hold on to second place. Nicole Creasel has come in for her final stop. A few laps early. She is within the window though. In fact, the entire field now within that fuel window. About 47 to 50 laps on a tank of fuel. Whoa! Mark Nelson sticks his nose up the middle, backs out. And look at this. Caution! Caution is out for the first time here tonight. Ronald Losey involved. Caleb Bass also involved. See if we can see what happened. Oh, Losey. Oh, he comes up into Caleb. Both drivers just end up in the outside wall. Both drivers have gone to pit road. And the rest of the field is on pit road. It appears Mark Dantuma had computer issues. Hopefully we'll see him back for the SMR Gen 4 series. Race at 9:30 Eastern, but a heartbreaking way to start this part of the season. Nicole Creasel will get waved back to the lead lap. She does have 4 tires and fuel. Kyle Holden comes out in first, Zach Lockett in second, John Ross in third, Mark Nelson in fourth, Richie Joplin in fifth, Stephen Gibson, Rick Sargent, Levi Heilman, Cody Williams, and Zach Henson rounding out the top 10. Troy Downing in 11th, Michael Whiting back to 12th, Russ Martin in 13th, Double D back in 14th, Austin Ruskoff, Gerald Poole on their way off pit road, 15th and 16th. Nicole Creasel will be on the lead lap. No, she'll end up being a lap down because she had completed her pit stop before the caution. Here we go. Pace car about to drop in. Zach Lockett getting some heat in those tires. Pace car is in. Green flag is back in the air. 40 laps to go. And man, mid-pack, we've got cars shooting everywhere. Some very close calls coming out of turn 2. They're going to go 3 wide into 3. Gibson pulls ahead into 6th. Kyle Holden pulls away. John Ross in 2nd. Richie Joplin, Zach Lockett battle for 3rd. Rick Sargent now on the move as well. Rick up to 7th. Cody Williams trying to make his way through the field back up to his teammate. Whoa! Levi went all the way down, almost into the grass. Saw a couple attempts at that in practice, and they never ended well. It's a risky move getting that low. Kyle Holden definitely did not want to see that caution. He had a big lead building. Zach Lockett on the high side took 3rd from Richie Joplin. Now closes up on the back bumper of John Ross. Michael Whiting back in 9th. Keep an eye on him to be moving forward later. As well as 5th place, Mark Nelson. Both drivers, though, will need a long green flag run here. Most of the field single file except for Michael Whiting, who's dropping down to go on the attack again. Richie Joplin back and forth, trying to get back past Zach Lockett. Those two have been back and forth all night long. And I expect for the next 30 or so laps, they will be again. The real question is, will we see another big charge out of Zach Henson? He sits in 11th now. Can he charge it back to the front? This might be the start. He goes to the high side. Quickly moving into 10th, and it's still going, but Cody Williams tries to fight back on the bottom. Top 5 staying single file for the moment. Everybody behind still jockeying for position. Michael Whiting trying to get past Rick Sargent. Cody Williams losing a little ground back to 12th. Donald Double D Durant's up to 13th. Nelson, meanwhile, just appears to be out for a Sunday drive. Just happens that his Sunday drives are about 200 miles an hour. Remember, Holden started back in 15th, charged his way forward. Mark Nelson, Richie Joplin have both led quite a few laps here tonight. But I think by the time it's all said and done, it looks like Holden will lead the most here. Gerald Poole, who was trying something with the tires earlier, it obviously did not work. He is back in 16th, battling with Russ Martin. Russ starting to struggle. He was up battling in the top 10 earlier. Austin Ruskoff has drifted back into 14th as Cody Williams has lit it up. He's on the move. And for the first time tonight, John Ross has taken the lead. Holden now back to second. Zach and Richie still battle for third. Richie barely clears coming out of turn 4, but I think Zach is pushing him down the front stretch. There are some exciting and not necessarily some wise moves going on in the field, but they're coming to 25 to go. Every one of these drivers trying to get as high up as they can late in this one. Zach Lockett looks like he may be fading just a little bit. Richie got past now. Mark Nelson looks underneath. Zach, though, having a great start. Holy cow. Zach having a great start to his BRR career. The field definitely knows he is here and not to be messed with. Richie Joplin on the attack underneath Kyle Holden. He may have it. This is unusual, seeing Kyle losing ground late in the race. Is Kyle just holding for the final laps? Or does he have a problem in the car? Mark Nelson and Zach Lockett are closing back up. Steven Gibson also right behind, well within striking distance, along with Michael Whiting. Zach Henson now up into 8th, about a second back from Whiting. We saw Henson get that big run midway through that last run. Can he do it again here with 22 to go? Meanwhile, John Ross leading at BRR for the first time tonight. John Ross had quite a battle earlier with Michael Whiting. Lost some ground, but has kept it clean and kept moving forward. And Kyle Holden has loosened even more ground. Mark Nelson is going to take third and likely bringing Zach Lockett with him. Folks, I've seen Kyle race a bunch of times. I have never seen him lose ground late in a race. He's holding on to third for the moment, but I don't know for how much longer. Zach Henson still trying to close back up on that lead pack. But he is now 1 1/4 seconds behind Michael Whiting in 7th. Stephen Gibson in 6th. He pulled off the win here last night in the trucks. Does he have something left up his sleeve for tonight? And now that John Ross is out front, can anybody get back by? Kyle Holden was pushing Richie Joplin down the backstretch as they try and pull back up to the leader. Richie goes to the high line. Holden may go to the bottom here. Holden back on the move. He might yet have something left in the car. Does he have enough to reclaim the lead? Do Mark Nelson and Zach Lockett have anything left to make a late race charge? And will we see Zach Henson get back up in the fight? Kyle Holden goes to second, but Richie's already looking again. Richie lost some big ground. Richie gets the wall. Mark Nelson now to third. Zach's going to come by and take fourth. John Ross up front is looking in his mirror a bit worried. He is going to have to drive very defensively from here. Kyle right back to the bumper. Nelson still closing in. Zach and Richie losing a little bit of ground back behind. Stephen Gibson starting to close back up. Michael Whiting still with him. Zach Henson, Rick Sargent, and Cody Williams now back into top 10. The top three very, very close together now late in this one. They have been green flag since lap 77. This may come down to which one of these three has managed their tires the best. Lap traffic will come into play for the lead battle. Next time by, they will get 10 laps to go at Chicagoland. And it is still a 3-car race up front. Cody Williams starting to make a move back behind, now moving into 9th, setting his sights on Zach Henson just ahead in 8th. Henson is starting to gain ground on Whiting and Gibson. Gibson currently in 6th, Richie Joplin back in 5th, Zach Lockett back in 4th. Nicole goes to the high side, lets the leaders by. They will not encounter any more traffic. It now comes down to those 3 drivers. The gap back to 4th place, now 1.4 seconds and getting bigger quickly. Nelson seemed to have a run. He got right to Holden's bumper. Holden going to the apron to make a little space. Out of turn 2, Nelson right back to the back bumper of Kyle Holden. Holden closes back up on John Ross going into 3. But as of turn 4, John Ross still in the lead, and through 3 and 4, he seems to pull a little bit of a gap. If that trend continues, those 2 behind are going to have to make an attack out of turn 2, because through 3 and 4, John Ross appears to be beating them. That time, that trip to the apron did not help Holden at all. The top 3 nose to tail into turn 3. This is going to be quite a battle to the end. Oh! Ross smacks the wall out of turn 4, just gives it a kiss. Goes to the apron to get some momentum and shuts the door on Holden. What a save by John Ross. That could have been the race for him, and Holden had to check up. Nelson's got to run. Side by side coming out of turn 4. Holden pulls just a hair ahead. Nelson still trying to get underneath, and Ross is pulling away as they battle behind. Back into turn 3, Mark has a little bit better run. Holden has the advantage. On exit, a little contact. Looks like Mark got a little squirrely coming out of turn 4, but he stays underneath Holden. He may have him this time. 3 to go. still side by side, and John Ross is loving it. He is opening up a gap. Zach Lockett appears to be having connection problems back in 5th. Two laps to go for John Ross. Could see his first ever BRR win here tonight. Mark gets underneath once again. They give each other space. Here we go. White flag is in the air one more time around. John Ross has a half-second lead on the battle for second behind. Mark Nelson gets a big run out of 2. Down into 3 and 4. It's going to be close for second, but it is not going to be close for the winner. John Ross gets the win at Chicagoland. Kyle Holden comes home second by 3/100ths of a second. And Mark Nelson comes home in third. Richie Joplin in 4th, Zach Lockett in 5th. Zach Henson made the run up to 6th. Well, let's talk to our top 3, starting with the Mark Nelson. Mark, I'm guessing you're a bit worn out at the moment. You and Kyle had quite a battle.
Yeah, I am pretty worn out. That was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. I definitely wish that it could have been for the lead, though, that we were doing that for. It was kind of frustrating letting John get away, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's all good. I'm just glad to have been in contention.
Well, the defending champ, having to watch rookies come out here and win week after week, how does that one make you feel?
Well, we're going to have to put a stop to it real soon.
Well, man, great job. Congratulations. Great run.
Thanks, Doug.
Kyle Holden comes home in second. And it does not appear Kyle Holden is available. Oh, here he is. Hang on. Kyle, congratulations, buddy. That was one heck of a run and one heck of a fight for second.
Oh yeah, that was crazy. Me and Mark were battling for a while there. I didn't know if he was ever going to get me. I was just kind of running the high side. My right front was dead. This car felt so tight tonight, but good win on John. The dirty air just couldn't figure out a way to get beside him and get around him at the same time. So good win on him, and good race by everybody.
Oh man, great job. Quite a few great battles tonight. Congratulations, man.
Appreciate it.
And let's see if we can find our rookie winner. John Ross, his first BRR win.
Missing.
John, congratulations, your first win, and you won it with some style, I have to say.
Well, I will tell you, that was some of the best racing. And I will, first of all, give a big shout out to Kyle. Really clean racing. He could have roughed me up a little bit there, and he didn't. And really, I was just trying to feed him dirty air. And thank goodness Mark come along and decided to go side by side. And I said, now's my time to check out. I just got to go.
I have to say, we were watching as they went side by side. You could actually sit there and watch every turn. You gain about 1/10 of a second. And it was just it was an impressive run. You had quite a few battles coming to the front as well. I know you and Michael Whiting banged doors before the competition cautioned a little bit.
Yeah, we did, and Michael was running really hard, and I was trying to hunt some clean air, and it's so, like, you know, you would think that this track is a little bit wider than it is, meaning, like, you know, the car got so pushy down low, and you could really pinch somebody down if you were on the high side and block, and it was all in good fun. I mean, you know, I was pushing pretty hard to get by him, he was pushing pretty hard to keep me there, so we didn't do anything crazy. It was a lot of fun.
Well, man, you definitely put on one heck of a show tonight, buddy. Congratulations, a great win.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I want to give a shout out to my team. You know, we got Adrenaline Racing and Sim Motion team out here. And that's Zach just come in. He's one of our teammates, finishing 5th. We got Cody Williams, Russ Martin, Ron Losi, all of those guys. Want to thank them, Levi, all of those guys that's on the team.
Well, man, great job and great teamwork. Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Doug.
Well, 2 weeks so far, 2 rookies get to victory lane. And folks, don't forget to come back at 9:30 Eastern. SMR Gen 4 takes to the track. That's going to be a fun one. They're going to be at Charlotte. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you here in a bit. Have a great night, everybody.